friend William.
Hi guys, I'm Mia, and I'm from the band, and this is my little brother Ethan. Ethan has autism, and he was diagnosed at 2 years old.
Ethan, I'm in church.
Okay. Hi everybody, good afternoon. 1 second. Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in. It's my 4th week. I hope I'm getting used to all this, and if you have watched it before, you know what I am at, but if you don't, it's the first time you know that I'm talking about comparing ancient languages, because I believe there is only one language that we all share one core. The language is not like a tree. This time I was hoping, you know, I can start talking a little bit about female writing, but the thing is that I had as I work on it, I think I have to work through a little bit of how the H alphabet, you know, used to be, and the H sound used to be before I get to that. So I will do as much as I can today. If I can finish that, I can get on to female writing. If not, bear with me, I will do it next week. But this week, I'm going to start with the, 1 second. Okay, this week I will continue with what I have been doing. Okay. Okay, this is one language core, as I said. Okay. And I hope you can change a little bit of the color lens that we all wear. Not just, I mean, everybody have a kind of color lens because we were affected by our own culture, our brought up, our gender. So I hope to get a little bit of the perspective of a female traveler from the East to let you see what language is like to me. So instead of a male, a very formal classroom and setting and a pure Western view, I hope to get integrated a little bit of the Oriental view. And first of all, when you search the internet for the family tree, the human language, you can easily see these pictures. First of all, I think it is a little bit doesn't make sense to me. First of all, the language so-called tree, as you can see, you know, European is a big branch right here. I think this map looks more like an economic power map rather than a language, because as humans live for thousands and thousands of years, I think everybody should have a much equal ground rather than what it shows on this map here. It presents itself like a tree, and then the European branch is huge with the Germanic. As you know that the last 200 years most of the linguists are either from England or from Germany, so as you can see, the English is that huge. But if we look at figures, you know, we know that actually one of the big one, you know, should be, and this is a German one of the big ones should be the Spanish one, you know, and also of course, you know, the Mandarin group. But why is it on the map that it's so big here? And other than the showing of economic power, that and not necessarily that, and it's just a reflection, and because most of the people who are doing this, who dominate this field, belong to the speaker of this branch. Okay, and this is Hungarian and Finnish, you know, and in this map it doesn't explain why two places from Hungary to Finland, why they are so far apart and they belong to the same tree. It doesn't explain that at all. And then the tree also has a big problem because, you know, it actually cuts the world into two main parts. It's almost like east against west. And the Indic family, you know, even though it says Indo-European, but the Indic family is not as flourishing as this part, you know. And how about all other oceanic languages, and also the Chinese, which is actually by number is one of the biggest spoken language now. So this map, to me, it really doesn't make sense, you know. So I just want people to rethink a lot of the things that we were being taught again and again. And okay, so that's why the program of my research, the name is called Basket Starfish, because this is the best image I can ever found. Other than that, I think it's better think it as our own brain. The branches actually come out 360 degrees in every way. It's not just branching out from the side, but I don't have anything better to show you that. So this is the basket starfish. What we share is one common core, and all the branches out here should be on equal ground. All the branches are as old as they were and as new as they were, because languages are always fluxing. Okay, and I want you to think again, you know, Western alphabet are also ideographic and pictorial, and that means, you know, the image is also embedded into words, you know, of your writing. So I want you to look at this, you know, all this word hot, hurt, and air. Why is the stop, you know, has to have this H, and why the succession also carry this H as an indicator? And this word, as you know now, you don't even pronounce the H, you pronounce it as air. Why should the H be there other than for visual purposes, like a determinative, telling the reader what that category is? So I actually show you kind of this map again to show you how from the east and the west all these writings were. What you see from Sumerian to all this, they all are H sounds. And I will show you this as the prototype, because when people were saying that, it actually has the rope and in their as a mental image. This is Chinese, we say hai, and this is also hai, as you see, is actually hurting something. And as we human developed, you know, other than the thread itself, you know, the umbilical cord itself is also, you know, one of the thread that we are talking about. So if you look at hieroglyph, it has actually 4 different H's, and one is here, the other 3 is here. The other 3 here is like Chinese here, is something to do with your lineage. And in hieroglyph, I think it's actually borrowed this ancient clay token. If you look at the history, this clay token was used, you know, many thousand years ago in Mesopotamia as the count of textile products. And I want you to see that, you know, the hieroglyph borrow this round form, but Sumerian actually have a square form because it's limited by its own form of writing. The cuneiform that derived from it is actually kind of square. So instead of a round form, even in real life they make a circle, but in writing they make it a square. Can you see the similarity? And this is actually the real writing to mean textile and clothes. And this is wool, and this one is actually thread or rope. And this is Arabic. You see, this is the eastern branch, this is the western branch. And this is what they call Southern Indian language. You see, it's still following that. According to the family tree, this is another branch. And this is Chinese. As we developed, other than hurting your own hurt, we actually have the rope, you know, tying people up. This begin to get more complicated as our society developed. This means slaves. And there's another word in Chinese, but I want you to pay attention to this part of the word, which share with the West. And look at this. This is Latin. Of course, you know, this is already became the H. This is, now I work it back, okay? From Phoenician, this is the H. Ancient Hebrew, they have these two forms, and as I said, you know, there are two ways of it, looking at a rope. If you use it like this, it's as a link to something, but if you use it horizontally in front of an entrance, it is actually barring you from entering somewhere. So this is Proto-Sinaitic. They have also two different forms, but as you can see, this becomes the Western way, this becomes the Eastern way, but the core concept is right here. The sound is still high, H sound, okay? And other than these red circles, you know, these are another pronunciation, and Chinese, this all belongs to other pronunciation. All the rest that I didn't circle is actually the H alphabet. And what's the relationship between a hobble and a herd? I want you to see, this is the 4 different writing in hieroglyph about H, and this is Chinese, also high. And this Arabic, all different forms. And this is, I made up this writing. This is all the principal form of H, the hair. And I write the starting form, the middle form, and the end form. And I want to show you that, compare later, you will see the similarity with hieroglyph. And in Arabic, we say, they say height as thread or string, and hab as rope, cord, or pregnancy. As you see, it is all linked to this, either a rope or the herd that you are tying. And of course, you know, if you use a thread, it is to tie up the whole herd when you go to an animal market. But in hieroglyph, there's actually a true hobble form. As you can compare this and with this, you can see that they all have the same way of tying a herd up. And I'm sure if you live in Cambridge, you are very familiar with this walking rope, right? This is what you see every single day. So this is not something new. This has been done for thousands and thousands of years, but in a different setting. And all this hobble to carry the herd, okay? And this is what I made up to make you see the sense of the word, and this is a real hieroglyph, you know, writing. And when I talk about the H sound with the thread we are using, I want to point out a little bit of our human shameful history. And as you can see, these are all ancient writing of more than 2,000 years old. You already see people tying people up, you know, for different purposes. And up till now, the writing still carry on. The pronunciation is high. For us in Cantonese, you know, again, this research is based on Cantonese sound, which is a little bit more ancient sound, you know, than the mutation in Mandarin. So I based this research with Cantonese sound. This hai actually means slave or servant, or we say hai, that actually means possession, belonging, something tied to you or something related to you. And as you can see, you know, how we use a rope, we use it to tie people up. And then in Hebrew and Arabic, they both share the same word, same sound, but different writing. It's hubble. And of course, you can hear the hubble in English from here. It means rope or cord. And of course, if we tie animal, we use this. And then in Latin, you have this and this word, which means have, hold, or possess. You see, the rope actually serves as a visual indicator there to tell the readers that they are to do with something tied to a person. But then in Latin, it doesn't pronounce it, but it doesn't take away the fact that it was used as a visual purpose. And English, of course, you have the word hubble, and then you have, and it means possession, and hafted. It's used by the English farmer up till this very day. It is used to describe the animal psychologically tied to a land. The animals all knows their own ground, you know, taught by their own mother. So the sheep knows where they belongs to. They only herd around their own area. But then in a good way, we use it to tie up herds, but in a horrible way, we use it to tie people. And I want you to again, you know, I want you to rethink that English is also pictographic and also use determinative. Because there are other alphabets that I will show you as the program goes on, but not today because of time. And again, I want to show you this South Indian language, which using this as a visual clue too. This is ha, and hagar actually means a hang, a rope. In English, you still have the verb hang. To hang something, you have to use a rope. And this is a Chinese writing more than 2,000 years ago. And these are all the related words in English: hinder, hamper, hobble, because you have to use a thread. And we have been doing this to everybody. I'm not trying to be racist here, because I search the internet, I find people being treated badly, colored people, and I also been seeing a little bit of the history in America, that a lot of the Irish immigrants were being treated badly as well. But the only difference is that I have never found one single picture that any white people were being chained up like the black people. So after all, we still enjoy a little bit of white privileges. So if you're white, if you're enjoying your privilege, you should be able to understand a little bit better if you see all these pictures. And I want to tell you that we are all perpetrators, every one of us, not just belong to any race, because all through history, every single one of us, every human being has been doing that to each other. Maybe we should think about that. Okay, I want you to look at also the hurdle and hedge, and that's the ancient writing for the age, and Deuteronomy in the Bible 22nd and the verse 8. That was actually one of the first rule talking about human right and public safety. It actually was talking about when you build a house, you have to build a fence around your roof to prevent people from falling off. But then as time goes by, we have different explanation about that. Now if you look at this, they will quickly point you to a saying that build a fence, which is called Humrah, around the Torah. And if you look at the internet, you'll see this, But I want you to think a little bit about whenever we want to keep a pure link to certain things, especially our bloodline, that means an exclusion to other people. And if you look at that with this, the fences actually look exactly like that. And of course in English will be a hedge or hurdle for other people. But I also want to point out other things that according to the American history and the early immigration, they used to build a wall to exclude the Chinese immigration. And of course, this ladder itself, used to be a symbol of a link. But then, of course, in this picture, the ladder is being kicked away, and that's for the exclusion of a certain ethnic people. So this is what we have been doing all along. And of course, all this you will see that is closely related to the hinder, hamper, and hobble again. And I have to drum this to you again and again. And this hurdle and the hamper, we naturally think of the wall. And a wall is a hindrance. A hindrance, is not only to others. I think sometimes it's a hindrance to oneself as well. When I talk about the war, I'm not talking about the future war. I'm talking about the past war in China. All of you know of the Great Wall in China, which was built more than 2,000 years ago. And as you know, as time goes by, the Chinese actually, we did fence ourselves in, and we lost touch with certain part of the outside world. So now the world is crumbling down, and who's going to pay that big expenses to repair the wall? No, it actually once a wall is built, you actually have to pay a lot to keep it maintained. So I think the Chinese is actually wise to let it crumble to dust. And as you see, the Berlin Wall was being knocked down. So if anybody is talking about a future war, or the war that Israel is building against the Palestinian, I think as a human being we should think again and again if we look back to the old war that we have ever built in the past. And now I still talk about the H words, about hegemony. And I want you to have that mental image in your head about the rope. And that's ancient Hebrew, that's Chinese. For the Chinese, this symbol here means homogeneous, and also it carries the meaning of a rope or a thread, or also means a yoke or control, of course, if you tie someone up. And we have this symbol right here that means subdue, serve, and obey. And the sound that carries on now is folk. And somehow when we look at this word, other than subdue, serve, and obey, we automatically have a meaning of clothes and rope. If you look carefully, the rope and the rope actually share a similarity because they were sharing a very similar ancient link. And this is what the Sumerian writing used to mean their textile and clothes. And look at this, look at this, look at this. You will see that we were sharing very similar writings. And I want you to look at this now to see how close the sound also were. This is German word for folk, and this is English folk. You can see that. And what is folk but bound by the same custom and same clothes? And now we are homogeneous by the television, but when I was young, when I travel around, every region have their own particular clothes, and that's what we call folk, okay? And again, I go to that word hai. I want you to see how similar the sounds we share between cultures across thousands and thousands of miles. Hai, for a certain time, you know, we mean a female slave with skills. And this is a hieroglyph, and the sound is also had and means slave. And why we know female? Because there is an indicator of female right here. And then of course we know all slaves were ancient trade commodities. This is Greek, and you might know this word is they pronounce it as etera. They actually skip the word H sound here, but in English it brings it back. It's called hetera. Hetera, according to the modern meaning, it means your companion. Your companion at that time is actually a female slave that was bought, you know, as a companion. But this female are highly skilled, you know, they are not any other female. But if you look at all this, you know, all this from ancient China hai to ancient Egypt to ancient Greek, this hai had they all were sharing the same sound. But the word comes by, and then in Arabic there's this word hadn. And hadn, in Yemen, I saw a group of people which call ahdam. This is a plural from ahdam, and which means servant. And now they are what we consider untouchable caste, who only do very, very manual work like cleaning the street and sweeping the street, and also butchers and things like those people don't like to do. But don't ever think that the untouchable only exists, you know, in the East, you know. I found easily this untouchable in developed places in Europe, also in Japan and India. And all, as a human being, we are all taking advantage of different people. But this slide is to show you that all across culture, across time, we all share sound. This core sound are what I am chasing after, and what I call the core of our languages, because these cores were built thousands and thousands of years ago, and then the ramification of our language is actually very complicated. The etymology is not lineal, as the modern linguists will try to show you. If you search a word now in these days, you know, in the internet, wherever you search, whatever you search, it always tells you it's a Latin etymology or the Greek etymology. It doesn't go any further than that. Why is that? I think we as a human being, we have to think, because history doesn't begin with the Greek, doesn't start with the Latin. The West now put everything to Greek or Latin. Doesn't mean that all roots came from there, but the core actually could be traced a long time ago. So our language are actually closer than we think now, and we are only confused by different habits in grammar. For me, grammar are not the core of the languages. Core are just a local habit. As you look and see, this is also the hab, you know, the thread that tied us to our region. It doesn't say that it is the core of the language. And in the following slide, I want you to see that certain symbols are still alive, to be understood as action in idea of an act. They are not dead. And I also want you to think that writing needs to be done by hand. Nowadays, we tackling on the keyboard actually cut us off, you know, from the true understanding. Now, because time is running out, I have to show you this quickly. And next week, I will explain it slowly. And if you see this, you know, you will see that, look at it as a rope, as the twisting ivy, as two entwined slick, and also as the sun circuit. And I will show you this quickly. But next week I will show you slowly, and all this action, you should see that they are twining, and all these are similar thing pointing to a thread that became the metaphor for harmony, heritage, and abundance. And this is all the words. And okay, now because time is running out, I want to give you a quick look at what I would show you. Okay, and I will show you all this. Okay. Oh, in this slide that I already prepared, I wanted to show you why there are so many H. Why one side of the H is actually to do with the rope, why the other side is to do with the airy H sound. So and also I want to show you why certain manuscript has to be written in certain way. And okay, I have to run fast because time is running out, and these are the female writing that I would show you. And okay, as I said, time is running out. That was what I would show you if time allowed me. But thank you very much.